form of art, how particular form has its impact upon the readers. The realistic reader and the realistic writers are attached with both which each other in the form of the literature, which reflects the mirror, or the what we can say reflects the real life of the society, and this mirroring effect produces the impact upon the literature. This was the all about realism, means how it was against the romanticism, how it was different from the miraculous and supernatural impacts of other works of art, and how it, by producing the general common everyday tendencies, achieves the literary impact upon the readers, we could see. Next is naturalism. Now, naturalism is the byproduct of realism, one may say, but in many sense it differs from the realism. Which are the ways that makes naturalism different from the realism? Realism is focused upon the minute details of everyday life, whereas naturalism goes one step ahead than the realism and claims to have more detailed depiction of life than realism. Now, students would be having the problem that which is the step which is giving the detailed depiction of life more than realism, more than real everyday life. In the 19th century, it grew up out of the literary phenomena of realism only. It had been influenced by, as we all know, Darwin's philosophy of survival of the fittest. Means it includes detailed information about the existence of human being on the earth with the help of minute physical as well as ugly depiction of human life. Means it emphasizes upon the scientific description of life, even though it generates ugliness, discord in the mind of readers. One such example, that I must produce in front of all of you, that has been vomiting or doing dirty things or perspiration of the character in the novel, their inner thinking and all such kind of things. And how do they feel? How do they go ahead with these difficulties? Now, as I have mentioned earlier, Darwinian biology has its impact upon this school of writers. How it affected? First of all, as Darwin had rightly said that a man is a product of certain scientific biological aspects. He is not the product of something called religious or spirituality. He is basically a foundational aspect of nature which gives the survival to the fittest species. Means human being, as the environment was favorable, is the ruler of the world. And that is what has been depicted in the writings of naturalist writers, especially in the novels of Emile Zola. He, in the particularly his work Naturalism in the Theatre in 1882, coins the word the naturalism. According to the Zola, the writer must introduce scientific objectivity to depict his subject. Now, what is this scientific objectivity? I would take a minute for an explanation of this aspect. Scientific objectivity means the writer must keep himself away from the depiction, means he should not involve in depiction of the character or the event on his own. He has to take the scientific support from the scientific data while he is discussing this aspect. At the same time, with the Zola, there are numbers of American writers as well who are also defending Zola's writing, especially in the work of Stephen Crane, Frank Norris and Drazier. We can find the American novelists dealing with the naturalism. In case of drama, we can find Maxim Gorky and Zola with Eugene O'Neill. Now, what is the need of this scientific naturalism? The need is that as the people or the audience is becoming highly influenced by the scientific invention, the writer are also supposed to depict their characters with the help of scientific data. Means it is the need which decides the demand in the case of naturalism. Means it is not only Zola who produces this term, but at the same time with her there are Frank Norris, Stephen Crane and Eugene O'Neill with Gorky, who are also satisfying the need of new scientific generation by giving them the minute detail of life in the form of naturalism. We move one step ahead, that is existentialism. That is one of the most psychologically influential aspect on the literature that has been produced in the 20th century. Especially it deals about human experiences, especially after World War II. It has been given the greater influence and the importance, and why a human being has been led to the existentialism. The reason is that as the philosophically it means a pertaining to the existence or the predicating the existence. It asks about the very existence of a human being. From the beginning of the 20th century till the present day, we find the influence of existentialist philosophy on each and every writer, whether it is English literature, American literature, or Indian writing in English. Even in case of Indian writing in English, more recently one can find in the writings of Arun Joshi, Arundhati Roy, and several others, Shashi Deshpande, the existentialist question has been raised by the central characters of the literature. In the philosophy, the terms, as we have discussed, came from the Soren Kierkegaard's works. Following that, one can see that it asks about the essence that precedes the existence of human being. Now I will take a pause over here to explain what does it means that this existence precedes essence. The human being, whosoever he is, has the very existence because of his own choice. Means he decides to do or not to do certain things, and due to that he is at the very particular place. Means it is his own action that brings very near to the karma, the law of karma, that it is his own destiny which he decided that he is there. In the case of characters of Jean-Paul Sartre's work, we can find the existentialism. His fiction plays the philosophical writing dealt with the existentialist structure, or what we can say the struggle of modern man. Following that, we would like to move towards the theatre of absurd. Now, why we need theatre of absurd in real sense? Absurd as the combined word has the morpheme of absurd that comes from the term of mathematics. In mathematics, absurd means something, absurd that means that cannot express in finite terms of ordinary numbers and quantities. In the field of mathematics, a kind of term which cannot be expressed by the numbers or quantities means something that is not usual, something that is extraordinary. In the field of literature, one finds the term that has been bestowed with the writings by the eminent English writers or French English writer Beckett, Pinter, Adamo, Janet and Ionesco. Now, in case of Beckett and Pinter, I will like to discuss their aspects and their treatment to the theatre of absurd. Theatre of absurd has been termed by the most probably by Martin Esslin in his work The Theatre of Absurd in 1961. Now, why this term, the mathematic term, has been given to the theatre? Because as we could see that certain aspects of our present day life, today's life, cannot be termed in ordinary numbers or quantities. Means certain amount of aspects are beyond our expression or the faculties of expression. They stand beyond our common everyday perception. The term was probably is very much near to our present day conscience. The genesis of this form of drama, now we should move towards the drama as a form of drama from the term, has more relationship with the contemporary drama, but it has far long lineage than present day drama. It has been emanated from the Roman mime, or you can say the comic business and techniques of the medieval and Renaissance plays. It has the dramatic work by the Brecht and Strindberg, and it was also influenced certain writers like Chaucer, Cervantes, Swift, and Pope. Now about their work and their influence of absurdity and their work, we shall discuss in the next point to come. But one can say the emergence of new vision of mankind, there has been a long cross-fertilizing process of responsible aspect. The term that has been came from the mathematics, enter into the drama, and even going beyond the drama, it has reached to the soul of our present day art of presentation. Now, in the case of particular absurdity in the human behavior, one can find in the plays of Aristophanes, work of Chaucer, especially in the Nun Prioress of the Canterbury Tales, and Cervantes, Don Quixote, one find the futility or certain amount of absurdity of the character when Don is trying to deal with the unprecedented things in his life with very much common way of treating them as the extraordinary things. In the work of Jonathan Swift, as we could say, that War of the Words, and in the case of Pope, we find a kind of poetry, multiple poetry, which deals with this aspect of literature. Talking about the human condition in Europe, André Malraux rightly observed that. Now we are going towards one of the significant components where we find the need of absurdity in the literature. European man, he says, at the center of European man, dominating the great movement of his life, there lies the essential absurdity. Means the great movements of his life, when he is marrying, where he is celebrating certain things, there are uttered absurdity wherever he is standing or celebrating his life. Now, the students from India or Indian literature would ask the question, this futility or essential absurdity. Now the same such things are also occurring in our life as well. One can observe in the process of expression as well as in the process of internalizing the absurdity of our celebrations and way of life. In the matter of plays, there would be absence of formal logic and conventional structure which ultimately supports the represent and absurd predicament. Now, waiting for Godot. I would wait for a while. That Godot is someone who is coming, but there are two characters who are continuously waiting for him for what is their task, by which reason they are holding themselves back, and waiting for the third character is totally absurd for us. Even during the drama, their conversation with each other also reaches to the height of absurdity, and the readers find that their discussion either hidden agenda or futile, totally futile for the next time to come. At the same time, Birthday Party by Harold Pinter is also a kind of classic example of absurd theatre. This aspect of absurdity in the drama, especially in the Birthday Party, brings the futility of relationship, futility of one's existence, futility, or what we can say, the absurdity of one's conversation with each other at the height of this theatre of absurd. In the case of the central character of the drama, one finds that why he is arguing with the others, there is no reason. Why he is worrying about certain aspect, unknown aspects, there is no reason. Why he is keeping himself away from his own wife, there is no reason. Now all these aspects, one after the another, brings the aspect of absurdity at the height of the drama and produces that birthday party is in all sense celebrates the absurdity of the present generation. Now let me go behind the first aspect of classicism. Now why we should discuss this aspects, especially classicism in the case of literature. Those students who are studying the literature from the 17th and 18th century, from you can say neoclassical age, they need to have the ground root reality of classicism at their command. When they are starting their answer, they must give the introduction of the classicism to their answer, because most of their writers, as we could see, as we have discussed, Dryden to Pope, Addison and Steele, all were highly influenced by the classicist way of writing. Now the question would automatically arise that how this is the need of answer, because if you are writing about the production of the literature, you must write about the genesis of the literature, from where the particular work of art has been germinated. Following that, we could see the realism as well. Now, realistic literature, as we have discussed, the 19th century literature in the form of George Eliot and rest of the writers, especially Robinson Crusoe. If the students are studying their texts, they have to produce or they have to evaluate their texts according to the terminology of realistic production. Means how the everyday life has been given the significance in the form of work, literary work, how the literary writer produces the work in the focus of realistic approach, and why the particular depiction has enchanted our focus towards literature. Following that, we have seen the naturalism. Those students who are studying or reading something called naturalistic or scientific depiction of the everyday life, especially in the case of Emile Zola and others, they have to have a kind of understanding of naturalistic writing. Now existentialist, in most of the literature after the first half of the 20th century are reflecting the aspect of existentialism in front of the writer.